So we finally got an official announcement of two upcoming Tomb Raider games in a surprising reveal at the Game Awards. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis and Tomb Raider Catalyst. And yes, Lara actually looks pretty. I'm so relieved she doesn't look like a dude, and she isn't nearly as uglified as I expected. It does seem like they dropped the woke ball to some degree, but does that mean all our problems are suddenly solved? Is that enough to make us fully satisfied and extremely excited? No, because the problem was never just how Lara looks. The problem is the identity of Tomb Raider itself. The combination of its complex, puzzling level design, captivating atmosphere, incredible music, and Lara's confident, fearless, witty personality. The spirit of the series that went missing over time, like a lost artifact we've been waiting to recover. And after watching these trailers, I didn't feel it's coming back. Yet.
It's been years.
I actually got really excited, as always, over anything Tomb Raider. So it was a huge surprise to me when I saw those trailers. I was extremely busy with work that day, and I wasn't even aware that the Game Awards were happening. Until I got home, late at night, bored, scrolling through YouTube, and I came across the videos. My first thought was, it's probably one of those AI videos, or a fan-made project, or maybe a custom level or something. I honestly kept scrolling past it, until I started seeing reaction videos from other YouTubers, and that's when I stopped and thought, wait, is this real? And yeah, it was real, and honestly it was a pleasant surprise because my god, after 7 years of silence, uncertainty and confusion about the future of Tomb Raider and what Crystal Dynamics was even doing with the franchise, we finally got an official announcement, not for one game but for two. Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which is a reimagining of the first game from 1996, and Tomb Raider Catalyst, which is a mainline entry and a sequel to Tomb Raider Underworld. But, despite my excitement, my expectations were actually very low. I wasn't a big fan of the survival trilogy, from the heavily guided gameplay to the family drama and how whiny and honestly annoying Lara felt in those games.
Jonah! I'm making everything worse.
And then there was everything else we've been getting over the past few years, disappointing leaks and rumors about retiring Lara and passing the torch to another Tomb Raider, a very questionable Lara designs, the Netflix series pushing an even more traumatized and depressing version of her, statements from Crystal Dynamics about changing Lara and turning her into more of a protector of artifacts, which basically changes the whole concept of Tomb Raider and makes it more of a tomb saver. Endless crossovers, reinforcing these new directions, and the whole timeline unification thing, which I still can't really buy. All of this and more left me and many longtime fans feeling disappointed, disillusioned, and mostly uninterested in the future of Tomb Raider. Now that we've seen the trailers, it's time to take a deep dive into the past and future of the series, and share my honest perspective as a long fan who has loved and grown up with Tomb Raider. The original Tomb Raider 1 holds a special place in my heart. It was my entry point and my first love, and still my favorite of the classics. So I was thrilled when I saw Legacy of Atlantis, and my first impression was, wow, that looks awesome and Lara looks amazing. But that excitement didn't last very long. The more I watched, the more I realized that what's really returning from the classic experience is mostly Lara's classic outfit, and even that has been altered, added to, and adjusted to fit the whole timeline unification idea. Everything else felt very familiar, not because it reminded me of the original Tomb Raider 1 from 1996, but because it felt much closer to a remake or even a remaster of Tomb Raider Anniversary. The level design feels the same, the gameplay mechanics looks almost identical, with noticeably less atmosphere. It even reminded me a lot of the very first Tomb Raider Anniversary trailer. What disappointed me the most was the copy-paste use of the grappling hook, pole swinging, and fast-paced traversal from LAU Trilogy. It's such a lazy and unimaginative approach to level design. I personally never liked the grappling hook / magnetic grapple from the LAU Trilogy because it doesn't make any sense. It's not even a realistic tool. And every time Lara uses it, it just pulls me out of the experience. Seeing it return again as a core mechanic instead of rethinking more creative and innovative gameplay ideas is honestly frustrating. I mean, what was wrong with shimmying along ledges, carefully observing your surroundings, calculating your jumps, and actually planning your movement? That was a core element of the Tomb Raider experience, right? Instead, we're getting the same leap of faith mechanics again, where Lara jumps in the air and conveniently finds perfectly placed rings and poles everywhere, with no logical explanation for why they exist in these places. It's like if the old ancient civilizations somehow predicted Lara's arrival and placed rings and poles around their tombs specifically for her to swing through. It's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind these mechanics if they were used sparingly and only in certain situations where they actually make sense within the environment. And that's why they worked so well in Tomb Raider Chronicles. They added a new cool element to the gameplay in a way that suited the nature of the levels and fit logically into the environment. And when I saw this particular shot, I couldn't help but think, wouldn't it be more exciting, more fun, and more believable if Lara could grab the actual water wheel, climb onto it, and carefully plan her jump to the other side? Wouldn't it be more amazing to freely interact with the actual environment, instead of only being able to interact with elements that were clearly designed specifically for Lara? Speaking of which, the painted ledges, white ropes, and highlighted bumps have also made their way back from the survival trilogy, replacing the sense of discovery and challenge with fast, linear, and heavily guided gameplay is not the spirit of Tomb Raider. The trailer doesn't show enough of the combat mechanics, so it's hard to tell whether what we're seeing here is just a standard dodge move or a replacement of Lara's original backflip. But honestly, it looks more likely that the adrenaline-based slow motion and critical hits from the LAU trilogy are making a return as well. At this point, I just hope they don't bring back those annoying target circles. Visually, the graphics look fantastic, especially considering the game is being developed on Unreal Engine 5. However, great graphics aren't enough without a distinctive atmosphere and a strong visual identity. To me, it feels like they tried to show efforts by adding too much details in places that don't really need it, and that's actually detracts from the experience rather than enhancing it. It makes the environments feel more like fantasy locations from a Disney-style adventure than authentic ancient ruins. Ancient people didn't carve and inlay gears or water wheels with gold and gemstones. Despite the graphical limitations of the original game, but it still had a clear, creative, and thoughtful visual direction. It struck a careful balance between simplicity and detail. The early Peru levels featured more restrained, authentic environments, with simple elements that reflected the everyday life of the people who once inhabited those places. As you progressed farther, richer details, bolder colors, and more elaborate designs gradually emerged, culminating in the visually impressive Tomb of Qualapec. That sense of progression made the world feel believable, charming, and genuinely awe-inspiring. While the details we see here are absolutely stunning, it would have been far more impactful if it were reserved for places where it actually feels earned, such as temple interiors, main tombs, hidden secret rooms, or key artifacts that Lara discovers.
No.
The overall captivating atmosphere, which was a key part of Tomb Raider's charm, feels missing in this trailer. What made levels like City of Vilcabamba and the Lost Valley so iconic and memorable in the original game was how eerie, dark, mysterious, and isolated they felt. The lack of a skybox played a huge role in creating that unique atmosphere. These places felt hidden, buried deep away from the outside world. It made Lara, and by extension you, feel trapped, lonely, isolated, completely lost. And that feeling was incredible. With bright blue skies and sunny, cheerful environments, that feeling is gone. These places no longer feel intimidating, dangerous, or mysterious. That said, I'm still very curious to see how Greece, Egypt, and Atlantis sections will look in this reimagined game. And I'm genuinely hope Atlantis returns to its original concept, the fleshy beating walls, and the disturbing, horrific atmosphere that made those levels unforgettable. Another thing I noticed was the complete absence of the iconic Tomb Raider music in this trailer. Since this is a reimagining of the original game, even a small hint of the classic themes would have made a huge difference. It would have instantly excited longtime fans and even newer players who just experienced the remasters. I honestly don't understand why Tomb Raider's music has been gradually pushed aside over the years. While so many other franchises proudly preserve their iconic soundtracks, James Bond, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and many more, their music become a signature, the soul of those titles. Tomb Raider had incredible original tracks. They could have used a new version of the original main theme, A Friend Since Gone, or Longing for Home. That music created a powerful emotional bond between the player, Lara, and the places she explored. It was a universal language that conveyed loss, mystery, and wonder. It spoke for the places and the people who once lived there, and reflected Lara's unspoken emotions toward them. Before anyone says, "Go play the original game then," we're not asking for a carbon copy of the original game. What I've always hoped Tomb Raider would evolve into, whether as a remake or a new game, is something closer to Dark Souls than Uncharted. That level of challenge, but built around platforming and exploration. Massive, complex, puzzle-driven level design. Distinct, diverse environments. A dark, intimidating atmosphere. Gameplay focused on observation, exploration, and carefully planned moves and jumps. Deadly traps, brutal enemies. A game that makes you feel trapped, isolated, confused, and genuinely lost, yet so intrigued that you don't want to give up. A story that actually focuses on Lara's obsession with discovery, and the world's lore, mythical artifacts, ancient mysteries, lost cities, and all of that while embodying the legendary Lara Croft, with her original iconic traits: fierce, intelligent, elegant, charismatic, unapologetically confident. A Lara who chooses to adventure alone, leaving behind the noise of the real world. No personal drama, no family baggage, no politics or agendas. Drawn to danger, mystery, and ancient relics. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. And she's not doing this to prove anything to anyone. She doesn't need a support group, emotional speeches, or validation. Just her and the sense of adventure larger than life. And most importantly, she only plays for sport. That contrast between a dangerous, unforgiving world and Lara's overconfident personality is what made Tomb Raider so charming and compelling. That's where its true essence lies. And that's what many of us want to see return. Lara in this trailer looks beautiful, but she still lacks that energy, that confidence, and that sharp presence. I could also nitpick her new design. Her hair should be more reddish brown and better tucked back around her face. And seriously, why the jade necklace? And those too many straps on her backpack and chest? And that unnecessary extra holster strap over her shorts that there is no way would stay in place throughout an actual adventure. These changes and additions don't add any real value or meaning to her original design. They feel forced, existing solely to impose the new, unified Lara. And by the way, her shoelaces were red in the original game, and that was iconic. So, bottom line, based on what we've seen in the trailer and everything else we currently know, this reimagining of the first game doesn't feel like a true return of the original Tomb Raider experience, with a deeper story, more innovative gameplay, or a stronger, more atmospheric identity. Instead, it feels like it exists primarily to solidify the survival trilogy storyline and everything that came after it, to unify the timelines under a new, unified Lara Croft and her new revised backstory, built from assorted elements and mechanics taken from other Crystal Dynamics games, just with better graphics. Essentially, it comes across as a gap filler between the Reboot trilogy and the LAU trilogy, leading into the next game, Tomb Raider Catalyst, and then call it a day. And it's a way to move forward without acknowledging the original core design era as it was, by retelling the original classic story from Crystal Dynamics' perspective and presenting it as the definitive canon. And with it being labeled a reimagining, I wouldn't be surprised if we see additional story elements and characters from the Crystal Dynamics era inserted as well. That said, after all this ranting, I want to be clear about one thing. I'm still happy that Tomb Raider is back. It's not exactly how I hoped it would return, but I honestly expected worse. I will definitely play it, and I truly hope it surprises me and proves me wrong. These are my genuine thoughts and opinions, shared with real passion and love for Tomb Raider and our beloved Lara Croft. I would really love to hear what you think about Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis. Do you strongly agree with me? Neither agree or disagree? Completely disagree? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
Don't you think you've seen enough?